Hi there, everybody. My name is Kate. Welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. This is video 4, I believe. I hope I'm keeping track. So I was talking about Mercury retrograde. It's a funky time, and we got a lot of people that are walking around in weird sublime because they don't understand energy. They don't understand the energy that's coming at them. They don't understand the energy that's coming up in them. And you don't have to understand everything about quantum science or astrology or astronomy or anything except your own energy. If you really want to succeed at the game of life, in my opinion, is to be able to balance that energy that's inside the dueling dragons, that we all have polar opposites of stuff inside us. We are polarized beings. We have protons and neutrons and electrons. We have a balance of things. You cannot have an imbalance of your electrolytes in your body. You die. A certain imbalance you can carry for just a minimal amount of time. And there's a very fine line between alive and dead chemically. Even though, it looks quite different out here in, reality, there's a very fine line. And quantumly, energetically, it's the same thing, that there's a polar opposite to everything. For everything, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And so that's not me making stuff up. That's a principle of science. And and that's not religion for me. I don't have a religion or a theology or a doctrine except the doctrine of me. And that's what I divine from what is inside of me. And I gain that through my quantum understanding of quantum science. And then I go beyond with what I'm able to do in my lucid dreaming, my meditation, my talking to my gods, my frequencies, my angels, my divinity. I call it a bunch of different stuff that, a lot of it is very private, and I don't share, much of it with anybody, some of those things, because it's very private and it's very sacred to me, and it would be blasphemous, in my opinion, to do that. However, holy is holy is holy is holy, and holy is true, and there is no truth in lies, and there are no lies in truth. Absolutely none. And so for me, what's true, what's going to be working for me, and not be a big boo-boo and not be bad math, not be making, terrible arithmetic errors, terrible quantum mistakes where I'm choosing from inside me to not be in harmony, and I'm not dissolving away the dissonance. And I can't resolve other people's chords. That's one of the first things I can do to break away from old paradigms and old junk that will come up during Mercury retrograde, or help me with an A+ right away, is seal out immediately, whoosh, put up a bubble of magic, whatever you call it, of nope, I don't alchemize, transform, or tinker with, or Geppetto anybody else's energy. And energetic cords, there are a lot of people that do the energetic cord cutting ceremonies, etc. And if you feel the need to do that, please do that. Cleanse your space, and absolutely do protect yourself, because if you leave yourself open energetically, you might as well hang vacancy over your head and expect to have everybody in mission control with you. Whether you wanted Jean-Luc and number 1 in there or not, you're going to have a whole bunch of people in a very crowded little spot. And if you're not very happy, or if you feel motored around, if you are being motored around, unless you're a minor, and even minors, we have to be careful how we do that, because we're molding and shaping individual energy. And boy, when we're, raising little tyrants, then we're just teaching them how to tyrant thee and he and she and we, etc. And the cycle continues. So, the best way that I've found is to make sure that outside of your little bubble of magic, your own energetic address and signature, that you're not looking to have to dissolve someone else's issues or really connect or disconnect any cords that are there. However, when we've been opened up to those frequencies, and when we've been opened up to those experiences of trauma, horror, etc., things that attach themselves to us, generational curses, if you will, hexes, that kind of thing. I'm not into voodoo, hoodoo, and bullshit. It's absolutely possible that you can be hexing and vexing people from a distance with your quantum nasty, and I'm not into it because it's wrong, and it's no different than Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Split that atom in a different way and do it very responsibly, respectfully, and understand the power of nuclear energy. And absolutely not will you drop it on the spot like that. That's not okay, in my opinion. And I don't believe that there's anything holy or divine in that would make it fine for me to justify for any reason that I would split my atom any other way. Now I'm a human being, and I'm going to need to learn how to play by different rules when I've been raised to believe certain things about myself. If I've been learning my whole life that I take on other people's baggage and that I dump off my baggage in those places, and we're exchanging those codependent, toxic relationships, that we can all own up to the fact that most of us don't know anybody that's not codependent in some way, or is not, emotionally immature in quite a few ways. And I've never really known anybody that was emotionally mature in all areas and, well boundaried. The ones that are out there on the leading edge of thought, Wayne Dyer, I have no idea about him emotionally, as a person, how he was. He was a very forward thinker, and he had a lot of great things to say. Carolyn Mace, a lot of these people that talk, and speak in that quantum space, I haven't any idea emotionally their maturity. However, listening to them and hearing them say, you have to take accountability for yourself in your own way. I'm going to think that our energy is our emotional lability and stability, and if we can harness that and be able to say to a crowd of people, this is how you do that maybe they're a little more mature than I am. And I listened to a lot of those people because I wanted to know, how do I do this? And it's very difficult to get off a crack if you're going to have to go back to the crack house to try to finish your rehab. And it's going to be very impossible. Next to impossible quantumly, it's going to be absolutely impossible quantumly to continue going at a math problem with incorrect math. If X doesn't equal Y, then your XY variable issue is going to be an issue all the way through your equation. Everywhere that X is equaling Y and it's not really equaling that, it's going to be not equal for the entirety of the equation. And in my personal opinion, there isn't any reason to go through the entire equation. Mercury retrograde is going to drag you right there and go, look, this is the way you do this, this is the way you do this, this is the way you do this, and blah, blah, blah. No, thanks. I don't want to do that. I just want to say, yep, X and Y, they didn't equal there. That was some shit that was broke. So what do I do now that during Mercury retrograde, I don't want to review a million things, because emotionally, I don't need to review every single event in my head. I can get the energy wave. The quantum wave on that was ouch. And how do I alchemize that without having to do lateral combat with myself on every single infraction, every single sin that I ever committed? Where do I begin? You'll never end. And you'll have a flyby of a million people, especially at these times of planetary transitions, big ones too, that is super intense with Gemini season, and Mercury retrograde in Gemini right now is a very intense time. That you'll get some flyby people, energies, etc., that will be more than happy to freak it with you and make you feel freaky about yourself and make you feel ashamed of yourself and blame yourself and take on stuff that emotionally mature wise they ain't there. And it's not meaning they're not there emotionally to handle it more maturely. They're willing to dump their toxic waste, and because we don't know any differently sometimes, or we're in an area where we're not very emotionally mature or strong enough yet to say, yeah, I don't want to do that, because we're afraid to be alone. We're afraid to be, without money, a home, etc. I mean, they're logical things. We all need food, water, safety, and shelter. That's basic human understanding, that's what we're all trying to, that survival instinct, that's what we're all after. And then everything beyond that is just the giggle and fun. And it can become quite undone during planetary alignments like Mercury retrograde, when you might have a chance to review every single place in math from third grade, when this is where you were so bad and you did this and you did this and you did this and you did this. And then if you've got an adoring fan club that's willing to remind you of that whole list of things, because they don't want to hear about theirs. If they did, they'd be in their own closet going, yeah, that's what I did. And I don't even want to be in my own closet anymore going, I did this and this. I did that already. Spent a lot of time logged on a couch in a therapist's office, bunches of them, and on tons of pills for a diagnosis that wasn't correct. Thanks. Asperger's is not anything else. It really isn't. But that's just my own personal story, and I'm certainly not going to just discount psychiatry, psychology, or therapy for anyone. I'm saying that divinity told me, look, this is where you got to go, and this is what you got to do. That for me, review during Mercury retrograde doesn't mean that I sit down and I listen to a whole bunch of baggage and garbage coming in from, flyby pirates that are whoosh, trying to bomb in and say, this is where you're terrible, this is what you did. No, I'm aware that I've been a dirtbag in my life. Yep, I'm aware of that. I can just go ahead and put that all in one big giant bag and go, yep, anywhere where my equation was out of balance, I am sorry. And any place where I can make amends, that I know how to make those amends, I do it. And quite frankly, it rarely involves another human being. Not in my own personal experience in the last 3 years going through divorce and dislodging myself from my whole former life and my former understanding of me, I haven't had interaction with very many people from my life. And there's a reason for that, because it wasn't going well, we didn't interact well, and we were harming one another. And energetically is still trying to kind of fly by and do some, interaction from both sides, apparently, because it wouldn't be coming at me if I wasn't available to receive it. For some reason, it's still activating within me. Mostly, it's kind of funny at this point. You gotta be kidding me. Yeah, go. I'm not interested. No. However, I am willing to heal because I want to feel, and I want to feel the whole range of emotions, from this to this. And there's not a good and bad necessarily. They're human emotion. However, when our predominant emotion is rage, hate, fear, etc., that really, there's flowcharts 9 miles long about each little, thing of emotion, etc., etc., etc. And really, it can be so much simpler for me of, I want to get to a higher frequency of feeling better about me. And how do I do that? Immediately. How do I get the stat 911 on that? Call a code blue. The Kate going down. We need a Kate 88. Let's get out of here right now, because we're getting ready to, tag and bag. And I don't want to do that. So when I know that I'm starting to go down that, that's when I have to start reaching out to my divinity to say, how do I do this? And I actually speak out loud myself. I live alone, and if other people were here and in my space and going to be, looking at me funky, then that's probably why I live alone, because I would need to do whatever I needed to do, and I'm not willing to change that for anyone. And I'm saying to you that in order for you to heal, in order for you to feel, you have to do what you need to do. And if other people around you are willing to take you to a crack house and you just trying to get off crack, then might be time to start separating yourself out from those relationships and say, that's really not going to work for me that way. And it's not instantly resolved and changed. However, much of what I've done behind the scenes on my own has been just me in my own closet working through with my own divinity to make amends in ways that bring the healing and the feeling to my heart. And I'm not responsible for how it looks on the outside, how it feels to anybody else. All I know is that I can responsibly say that I handled my nuclear waste better than I have in the past. And anywhere where there's an opportunity for me to raise the frequency without worrying which notch up there I am on, am I here, am I here, am I here, am I here? I spent a lot of time being OCD, 1313, thank you, that I can't get too much into each individual little thingy. I had to get a whole lot more basic about it than that and just say, look, how can I feel better about this right now? And the first way to do that was to call in for me, where's my divinity in this moment of how can I feel better about me? And if I'm to that point where I just absolutely have nothing, that I have nothing at all, then the last thing that I need is a human being to come in and save me, because then I'm always going to need somebody in my mind to save me, and that's most undivine. And it's exactly what happened to me again and again and again, that I felt so terrible about myself as an individual and as a person that I was letting other people define me, because I had already let them redefine me all the way through childhood, that, oh yeah, I'm the problem child, I'm the this, I'm the that. And I'm not here to shame or blame the parent structure or any part of my family. I'm here to use that as an illustration for other people that it defined me way back then. And I lost myself in the midst of just getting put on a lot of medication that I didn't belong on, and didn't belong in a lot of situations, because I wasn't listening to me and my divinity. And the calling of me was saying, ooh, yoo-hoo. And everybody has that. I myself am an energy channeler and a light worker, if you want to look at it in those terms. I'm here to do divinity's work, and I believe in ascending. I can't say that I'm part of the ascension crowd necessarily. I'm not going to denounce or claim anything in particular. I'm just saying that as someone who can be very intuitive, who is very intuitive and very empathic, and empathetic, and able to really tap into quite a few clair skills, then it's my responsibility to work with my own energy and get that stuff figured out immediately so that I can help demonstrate to other people this is how we can set ourselves free of those emotional ties and that baggage and the really terrible paradigm that just doesn't serve anyone in the sublime or out here. And I don't want to spend a lot of time. I call it unicorn land. I have unicorn friends, but when I say unicorn land, I mean like fantasy of, realities right here. Real D reality is right here, and I can't go into quantum with stuff. If I live exclusively in quantum, that's not cool, because I still have to live here on Earth School, whatever you call it. And I don't want to be so grounded that I'm just here on Earth and not ever visiting any other dimension or other understanding of myself, because then I'm not growing and evolving. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I don't know that I'm going to go on to another video. I might talk for another couple of minutes here, maybe. Kind of waiting for divinity to drop in and say, hey, this is not anything that I thought I was going to talk about. I didn't actually really realize that today was going to be a video day, and I don't know that I'm actually going to end up uploading this or not. I haven't any idea. I listen to divinity as it's dropping into me say, hey, go do this, go do that. How about that? And after I was listening to Alchemy and You, one of my favorite readers on YouTube, talking about that Scorpio reading, and just, that you've got some Dexter's Laboratory stuff in there, and pardon my paper plate, but I don't think so. I've been tinkered with far too long, and I've been a tinkerer far too long, and I'm not here to do that. I'm here to bring a different song, and I'm here to bring my own song, which is always a different song than yours, just like yours is different from theirs, and I want it to be different. I want you to be your own expression of divinity, not the burped up version that I give to thee. I want you to show me who you are without the Godzilla suit. You can leave that off, thanks. However, very few of us want to unzip out of that sucker and show our naked selves. I myself don't have a belly button. That's for real, for true. I had surgery 8 years ago, nearly died. That's true too. Spent time on a ventilator, 2 weeks, and 4.5 months in a hospital, and I don't have a belly button, so I don't want to unzip anything. I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to be vulnerable with the right people. And by that, I mean that I'm willing to be me, and I'm willing to share the tenderest parts of me with people that are very selective. And right now, that's very few people, because I don't know anybody that I trust that much with that kind of vulnerability, because there's very little that I don't take care of myself. I had to. I was left at the curb to do it on my own. It was do or die, literally, not 8 years ago. I went through a divorce 3 years ago, different time. That, do or die, figure this out emotionally, physically, whatever. And I did, and I don't wish to punish or shame or blame, and I certainly am not going to take any either, Pardon your paper plate on that one. Then no thanks. That's just trashy behavior, and I'm looking to do classy, not trashy, and have a good time with my, redneck moving ops perhaps, and I'll go dumpster diving for my phone and stuff and giggle about that. However, not giggle at all about the emotional vulnerability that it takes a lot of strength and courage to unzip that Godzilla suit. And not a one of us is going to unzip our whole entire Godzilla suit off and go buck naked all in one fell swoop. That doesn't happen. It's not human nature to do that, and it's not wise. However, we can unzip one layer at a time. And if we can unzip, 3 or 4, then why don't we go ahead and unzip 3 or 4 in those right places with the right faces at the right time in the sublime, that we understand quantumly our own energy and our own divinity to know that, that's probably not a good idea to do that. Or, hey, that's a supreme idea to do that right there. To get to know that person. Or get away from that person, or go do this particular activity that's really going to feed me and nourish me, or I'm not going to do that particular activity because that takes from me, or I don't want to hang out with that frequency. And there doesn't have to be the judgment and the shame and blame on it. There has to be the discernment. Discernment's a great word. Judgment has a lot of snark on it because judges are, judging good and bad conduct. And so discernment is a great word. That's what divinity and human instinct gave to me, is my discerning ability to go, and if I'm feeling very about something, if it's today, it's because I've listened for a very long time now of how to really obey that. Because when I disobey that, it's lateral combat almost immediately with somebody or something, or I'm opening my portals to receive Mercury retrograde, ding dong calling, and I don't want to hear it. The Oscar Mayer frequency immediately comes in and goes, hey, how you doing? Can I assault you? No, not today. That I don't want to be taken down in a Phoenix rising because I'm being a clown, that the way to do that is much more sacred and holy and a lot simpler. And it's, we got to stay in our Godzilla suit for a little bit longer while we're practicing our skill of, okay, how do I find my divinity? And some of those suits, those Godzilla suits, will just kind of melt away. They really will. As we learn how to get stronger from within, that little fire will go from being this big to this big. And one day, we're going to be a bonfire. And it doesn't mean we're raging and on fire and going to set other people on fire necessarily. I mean, when I set someone on fire, I want to be setting on fire as in we're fired up, we're together making fire, and we're not on fire like creating arson action. Not that.